What is happening, y'all? Cowboy here, and welcome back to another legendary showcase. And today we are taking a look at all of the legendary shotguns in Borderlands 4. Now, similar to the other showcases, while I won't be covering the drop locations for all this stuff, I will be linking the spreadsheet, which has the drop location for everything. So make sure to check that if you're looking for information on where to find any of these particular legendaries. All that being said, we got 17 to go through, so let's jump into it. And first up, we have the Acey May. Now, the Acey May's perk is Love, and it's all about killing enemies with kindness, because as we shoot this, we're going to have a heart-type pattern. This one also has a sniper mode, still has that heart-type pattern. That's really it with this. Nothing too crazy about it. We just have this heart that we're going to see as we fire it. It's supposed to be a heart-shaped spread as well. And that's going to be it for the Acey May. Moving on over to the bod, on the other hand, the bod is potentially one of the strongest weapons in the game. Now, it's a very unassuming weapon at first, but because of all-arounder, with this counting as a shotgun, assault rifle, sniper pistol, and an SMG, we are getting all of the perks on our enhancements, all of the perks that could be on our class mods if it has gun skills. So this pistol damage by 33%, that's helping the bod. The equip speed from shotgun is helping the bod. The assault rifle status effect chance is helping the bod. So if we have, like, you know, pistol damage up, shoddy damage up, sniper damage up, for example, all three of those damage effects are going to benefit the bod. So it's a very unassuming gun that with the right setup can actually do an insane amount of damage. This one also has an SMG mode on it, which really rips through enemies. I mean, looking at 82,000 just real fast off that singular burst. Pretty respectable considering the shotgun burst did, what, a little bit around 30? But, very, very solid choice if you have the right setup for it. Continuing down the list, we're going to go to my favorite type of weapons, Jacobs. And first up, we have the Rainbow Vomit. Now, this is a weapon that when I first got it, I wasn't that big a fan of it, but as I've gotten farther into the game and started getting more sources of elemental damage, this weapon really has come to become a powerhouse. And this is actually a pretty terrible roll. I have one in the bank that's like a solid one that I use. But the idea with the Rainbow Vomit is that you're going to have 3 random elements on it, between corrosive, cryo, radiation, incendiary, shock. And so ideally, you would want to get incendiary, shock, and corrosive. That would be like the ideal roll for a Rainbow Vomit. You can see we have a little bit of an arcing pattern. It's going to send out little stars. But if you are doing an elemental type build, this thing does have a lot of damage potential. You can very quickly just stack up a ton of elements on targets. And especially because of that setup, we can get this to where it's like, you know, it's just a good all-rounder, because I don't care what the target has, you know, I'm going to be dealing fire, shock, and corrosive. So even if one isn't hitting as hard, I'm going to be hitting harder with the ones the target is weak to. Moving on from there, though, we have the TK's Wave. Now, this was an absolutely busted shotgun in some previous iterations of the game. Unfortunately, it does not live up to its heirloom namesake this time around. The firing pattern on this one is, you know, it's like a wave that's going to shoot out. And the problem is really, it's just hard to get all of that into a target unless you're right on top of them. You can see firing straight on, we're going to have this wave pattern. And then afterwards, it's kind of going all over the place and bouncing around. But honestly, this one has been really disappointing for me so far in Borderlands 4. Just hasn't really hit the mark like it did in previous iterations of the game. Moving on from there, though, we have the Hellwalker with a Sooth Slayer. Obviously, some Doom-inspired inspiration, meant to look like the super shoddy from Doom. With a very quick reload, you're hearing guitar riffs as you shoot it, it's dealing fire damage. All in all, just a solid fire shotgun, and this one actually got a buff in a recent patch as well. Now, my personal favorite, and one that obviously everybody has been a fan of, the Hot Slugger. Now, this is just an absolutely crazy gun. With the perk Blazing Barrel, on kill, we deal 30% damage for 10 seconds for a maximum of 3 stacks. So this gets up to 90% damage. It's a Jacobs. But the big perk here is that the Hot Slugger shoots a single slug. When we fire this, we are just firing out one single slug that has all the damage. And that's what makes this such a crazy weapon, because we're just, you know, hitting headshots. It's ricocheting all over. It's hitting targets. The reload's quick. Like, honestly, this thing is probably going to get nerfed. There's a reason it's in so many lists for top legendaries. And, you know, don't leave home without one. The Hot Slugger is just an all-around fantastic shotgun to get your hands on. And I am almost out of ammunition, so one moment. And resuming, let's move on over to the Maliwan weapons. And one I want to call out first is the Kickballer, because I have heard you can get this to roll as a Jacobs as well. This has some crazy potential as a weapon, both in taking down enemies as well as downing yourself. The perk for the Kickballer is that when you shoot it, it's going to send out a kickball that's going to bounce all around. So this is the type of weapon that'll do a ton of damage, but if you're like in an enclosed space, it's very easy to down yourself with it. So just keep that in mind. Like, you will probably down yourself the first couple times you try using this, but it goes quite far, and it's the kind of weapon that's just all about chaotic destruction, you know? Like, even trying to aim this properly, you know, if I'm trying to hit the body, you see, it's not going to the body. But there is a lot of damage potential on the Kickballers, and if you can get a Jacobs roll on one, I mean, there's entire builds dedicated to Jacobs Kickballers. But I mean, the damage is good. Just got to make sure you don't hit yourself with it. Looking at the other Maliwan shotguns, the Kalediosplode. This one I'm kind of disappointed in. The colorful mess is very apt for what we shoot. We charge this up and then we shoot out this like glowy magical ball. Damage isn't all that crazy. The shot pattern is kind of on the slow side. Honestly, this is one of those guns where I'm just like, oh, they made this as a joke, right? Like, I have not found a good use for this thing. It just doesn't seem good to me. The Sweet Embrace. This is a shotgun that we get from Moxie, and we have a firing pattern of 4 shots. So if I'm against like a wall or something, you can see it a little more distinctly there. 4 particular rounds that are coming out at once. And, you know, I mean, it's decent, but I'm not a giant fan of this one just because, you know, it makes it a lot harder to get headshots when you're shooting with, like, the 4 corners of a square at the same time. You know, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the, like, goofy bullet pattern guns like that one. But, you know, if you're looking for something, maybe it'll be what you're looking for. I don't know. Moving down from there, we are on to the Ripper weapons, and we have Goremaster up first. Now, the Goremaster's main perk here is just 30% damage to enemies below 30% health, so it is a executor of shotguns. Pretty respectable damage and fire right here. And then obviously the perk that when stuff is low, we're going to be dealing more damage. The Gauze gun is also decent. Just a single shot for a decent chunk of damage. Think of it as like a makeshift sniper in certain senses. But the range on it's actually not really comparable to a sniper at all, you know. I could even hit these guys with it. I was trying earlier, and yeah, it looked like it was straight on them. And so, but you know, all in all, if you're looking for like something that helps finish the boss off, maybe this might be what you're looking for. Moving on to the rest of the Ripper guns, we have the Convergence. Now, the Convergence is a little goofy. The idea here is when we shoot this, it's going to create streams that are going to converge in on the target. And it's a little goofy to see in action. You know, when we're shooting, you can see how like our bullets are hitting, and then there's like these little streaks that are attacking the target. And that's how it looks when you're fighting other enemies as well. It's not seeking. It's more just these light beams converge on the target. And I believe they added some extra damage into the mix, but it's an interesting one. I'm not personally a big fan of Ripper shotguns. You know, if I'm playing with a shotgun, I want a Jacobs, but you know, maybe it's what you're looking for. Moving on from there, we have the Golden God. Now, the Golden God has insane damage potential, but it'll also eat all of your ammo when you use it. So we're going to just fill up our ammo after this, but the idea is we have full auto and we have a tracker dart, so I'll put the tracker dart in the face. And then this just keeps shooting, and instead of overheating, it just progressively consumes more ammo. So you can see that towards the end there, we were hitting, you know, we were spending 5 ammo per shot on that thing. It is very, very easy to burn through all of your ammunition. So just something to keep in mind. I mean, it's a cool gun, but the reality is in a lot of fights, you're going to pull this out and then you're like, oh shit, I'm out of ammo. Moving on down from there, that's all the rippers. Yep, we are over to the T-door guns. First up, we have Husky Friend. This has the Husky auto turret, and then we have an additional gun on reload with this particular roll. So regular, you know, standard T-door stuff. We have a second gun that comes out, and then we have Husky backup, which I will toss this out towards some things. There he is. Look at our little turret. Just he's doing stuff. I mean, you know, if you're a big fan of pet builds, a little turret that runs around and shoots rockets is kind of cool. But otherwise, that's the main perk of this. You throw out your little turret, and it just kind of fights alongside you for a little bit. Over to the Forsaken Chaos. This is the one that was a Twitch drop. Fantastic gun if you have terrible aim like me. They have a spread pattern, which is going to go all over. Sometimes it's horizontal, sometimes it's vertical, sometimes it's diagonal. And you can get some decent damage with this, assuming you're managing to, you know, hit the full pattern on something. That's all. We already did Husky Friend. Ah, yes, Anarchy. Now, Anarchy is actually a very solid choice here with the perk Mutilism. On auto reload or kill, 15% damage, 15% less accuracy for a maximum of 20 stacks, which reset on manual reload. So this is the type of weapon that once you start killing with it, you're going to want to just, you know, keep using it. And it only resets when we manually reload. So the idea is you just keep shooting, and you just shoot until you're out of ammo. Eventually the accuracy is going to be so bad on this thing that you're going to want to be like up on your target. But the fact that we are looking at 15% damage, and that's going to be stacking up to 20 times, that's 300% potential damage on the Anarchy when it's fully ramped up. So definitely very, very strong potential. A shotgun, especially if you are doing a build that's like high-speed shotgun in the face and you're not worried about that accuracy debuff. Some very strong potential there. And lastly, we have our Torg weapons. First up, the Linebacker. Now, the Linebacker is actually one that I'm a pretty big fan of. We have bouncing projectiles on this, and they're going to increase in damage and damage radius with each bounce. So if I was to just shoot it at a target, so you get some decent damage. It's exploding all over the place. And if I was to just shoot it, you can see how it has like rolling explosions that are going to go on out. But all in all, I found this to be just like a really solid tool for just like clearing out groups of enemies, you know? When you're doing like drill sites or missions where there's just a bunch of dudes and they typically form in like conal type shapes, you know, you're just firing out when you see like 4 enemies in that cone of your line of sight. This is just going to just dunk all over them. This one happens to be just raw explosive. You can also get this with a variety of elements. But yeah, all in all, not too shabby. I like this one. And then the last one, which I'm personally not a fan of at all, the Gripping Lead Balloon. This is going to send projectiles that float upwards and spawn child projectiles upon exploding. So we shoot, they float up, and then they rain down little grenades. And the problem with this one is, honestly, I think it's really hard to like just get your damage in on a target with this. You know, if something's running at you, you're shooting, and they're just outrunning those explosions, and I think it kind of falls off pretty heavy. But, you know, it is what it is. They can't all be winners. But either way, that is going to wrap things up for our shotgun showcase. Definitely a couple that are really big standouts with the shotgun. You know, Hellwalker is a decent choice. Slugger is obviously fantastic. We talked a little bit about the Rainbow Vomit, some solid potential there. Stuff like the Anarchy, stuff like Linebacker. Definitely some good choices in the shotgun lineup. But regardless, we're going to wrap things up here, and I will be bringing y'all coverage of all the pistols very soon, so stay tuned for that.